Welcome to the World of Horror podcast with Mom and Mac. This is the podcast where we share our love of international horror. Everyone has their fears, but we are not afraid of subtitles. Before we get into it, fair warning, these discussions will include spoilers and language which may not be suitable for all listeners. Let's move on to our first segment, Mom and Mac Chat. Hi, Mac. How's it going?
Hi, Mom. It's going good. It's a lovely Sunday. It's cold now. I kind of like that. I mean, usually I don't like the cold, but I don't know why this year, every time I go outside and it's cold, I'm like, ooh, that's nice. Maybe it was just too hot earlier this year. I don't know. I'm happy that it's cold. You can always get warmer. You can't get less hot.
Well, I think you're your mother's son because
Really?
I love this freaking weather. And I have a friend who hates it, like really loves warm weather. And so, I don't know, last week I was like, ooh, it's going to get really nice next week. And she's like, what are you talking about? It's going to be in the 50s. I'm like,
exactly.
Yeah, exactly. And we were somewhere and then we went outside and she had this huge coat with like fur around the, hood and everything. And I'm just like, and she made this face. I'm like, oh, did you hurt your back? She's like, I hate this cold weather. I'm like, we are opposites.
I mean, if it was, I feel like people who live in like really cold weather would think I'm a baby because when I say cold, I do mean like 50. Like 50 right. Fahrenheit is like, well, that's as cold as I want it to be, though. I don't need it to be like below freezing or anything.
I think freezing is fine, like 32. I don't think it needs to get any colder than that.
No,
I don't think it
simply
needs to
does
get,
not.
It does not need to get like Arctic Circle cold.
No, thanks. Or
no.
I don't need it to be windy either. I just want it to be crisp fall air. Hey, God, are you writing this down?
We have notes.
Yeah, I don't like your weather all the time, bud. Hey, can I call you God?
Can I call you God? Actually, there are some people who say that it's not right to use God's name.
The whole don't use the Lord's name in vain? I
guess so. But
I heard that phrase is taken out of context. I did not know this. I don't know the full phrase, but that it's less so referring to just saying God and more so referring to don't use God's name for your fucked up like ideologies. Like that's using the Lord's name in vain, which I had never heard before because obviously never like studied religion or anything. But I thought that was very interesting because that's never the way I hear it used. Or all the time it was used when I was a kid was when I'd go over to a friend's house and then I'd find out they had a rule where I had to say gosh. Like I had one friend whose parents were like, we don't talk like that here. Like, okay. All right. Well, I'm not coming over here again.
I was thinking of like when I worked at this Orthodox Jewish school. I've had a very varied teaching career.
You have.
But one year I taught 2nd and 3rd grade at an Orthodox Jewish school. And I don't know Hebrew, but there was this thing that the kids would do is when they were drawing a picture, they would write the Hebrew word in the corner as if to say, I get my artistic abilities from God.
Like a signature, kind of?
Kind of. I'm not sure. Probably talking out of turn. WoHos get in touch. But I don't know. I thought it was pretty cool. I think it would be really cool if someone could, and I'm sure somebody has, like put together like a list of how all different kind of people refer to that being. Like sometimes people say like dad, or like, Westerners might say Lord, so it's like, I think it'd be cool to see a list and like going from maybe from
Mm-hmm.
like most casual to like most formal to like don't say the name,
Yeah.
like it's not, you're not allowed to say the name kind of thing. So I think it's interesting.
Yeah. And then just go out into town square and start from top to bottom, shouting from the top of your lungs. Just kidding.
See how many people I can offend.
See when the
Yeah.
lightning strikes.
I also like, if I had time, I would like to take a class on Gnostic Christianity. Do you know about that?
Yeah, the other day I was, because I had just gotten back into Jesus Christ Superstar and was a little bit obsessed with it. So I was talking with a friend of mine, and she was telling me that, or she was just kind of basically explaining like Gnostic Christianity to me, because I don't exactly know where her true, like, how spiritual she is. Like, I think she sings in like a choir with her family, but like I've known a lot of people who sing in like religious choirs, and I think that can just be an outlet for a lot of people, like musically. But I found it very interesting, and because I love Jesus Christ Superstar, the musical. It's so good. And my particular viewing of it, me, somebody who has never studied, religion, I don't have any sort of like religious trauma or nostalgia or whatever for it. So I feel like I'm a blank canvas. I like viewing it as in that the God in Jesus Christ Superstar is completely fucked up, like a total asshole, and that, like, Judas, for instance, is not a betrayer. He was simply playing his role because Jesus had to be martyred to invent the whole religion. I feel like that's what Jesus Christ Superstar is positing. And there's several lines in it, where Judas is like there's a great one where during the Last Supper, he's fighting with Jesus, and he's like, you want me to betray you. What if I just stayed here and ruined your ambition? And I thought that was great. And so she was just basically telling me that that is a more Gnostic reading of Christianity. And I find it to be, I'm not a Christian. I won't ever be, but I find that to be infinitely more interesting than just, I feel like, what it's usually presented as, the story.
So I can't remember what it's called. You can get it through Prime Video now, but it's like not masterclass. It's the Great Courses. You know the Great Courses. Oh, well. Anyway,
No.
it's like kind of people doing lectures and stuff like that. And I did take I started taking this like Gnostic gospel course. It seemed pretty interesting. Maybe over the summer
Yeah.
when I actually have some time, you know, I'll try to take that course. Just seems very interesting to me. The idea that we got kind of like um, a middling god.
Yeah. Like, he's not a nice guy. I like that. I find that more, I mean, again, I'm not religious, so I don't mean I like that as in that's my religion. I just more say, as the casual viewer, I find that to be infinitely more interesting. And how, in like, again, I'm just going off Jesus Christ Superstar, how he's like, Jesus is not jazzed to be going into his fate, and he's like really conflicted about it and is scared to die. I find that
Yeah,
cooler. And that when Judas in the end like commits suicide, like, and when he betrays Jesus, there's this part where like the light shines down and it's like, well done, Judas. Like, this asshole, he's like, and also Jesus Christ Superstar, very gay to me. They're in love. It's like he's breaking these two up. They were totally close before, and then Judas is like, "Why me? Like, why did you make me do this? What the fuck?" And I just thought that's great. It's so much cooler than just, this guy's greedy and he just wanted to sell out Jesus for a single coin.
mm-hmm. Yeah.
Pawn in the great game.
I don't know Jesus Christ Superstar as well as you do.
You gotta watch
I
it.
should watch
It's
it.
so good. Have you?
Oh yeah, I used to watch it
Oh,
in high
okay.
school all the time. My friend Bridget and I would watch that one and Hair. And what's the one with? There was one that was like really. It was made in the '60s, but it was like or early '70s. It was like super popular. Have you ever seen it? It's like a kid
What is
who's
it?
a kid who's obsessed with death, and he has an affair with this really old woman. She's actually the neighbor in Rosemary's Baby.
Oh, I don't. This
They
doesn't
have
sound
they
familiar.
have a friendship. They actually have sex at some point, and
Gross.
they learn a lot from each other. And I can't think of the damn movie, but it's like really popular in college campuses and stuff like that. And Bridget and I would watch that one too over and over.
Is it a musical?
No,
Oh.
but we would watch Hair and Jesus Christ Superstar over and over.
Mm-hmm. You had
Mhm.
taste.
Yeah, I wrote a paper on Hair for my film class when I was a senior in high school.
Oh, wow. What was
Mm,
your like thesis?
I don't remember. I think I was just talking about the part where um, Claude Hooper Bukowski gets, he ends up in Vietnam, and then the next thing we see is his gravestone, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and I don't know what else I wrote. It was 36 years ago, dude. can you
Ancient history.
can you remember what you did 36 years ago? I mean,
I was not but a thought in the air. I was a whisper in the wind.
um, I was wondering, we haven't done this for a long time, but I was wondering if you have seen anything or played a fun game or done anything that you would like to shout out.
Yes, I have been obsessed with this game called Baldur's Gate 3. It's maybe ruining my life a little bit. It definitely ruined my sleep schedule. I've played it for 70 hours plus and still haven't finished it. And I say this bags under my eyes like it's a good game, but I need to get better at at not like I don't know, losing my humanity over playing a video game. But it's really good. If I could just describe it simply, it's if Dungeons and Dragons was a video game. But I feel like the story is very well thought out and the characters are all very interesting. It is one of the horniest games I've ever played. Like it is ungodly horny. Like first off, you can pick like even though it never comes up, you can pick the genitalia for your character. I find it weird they have 4 options for penises and only 2 for vulvas. Okay. What? That's a bit weird to me. Uh and the differences for the penises are just like hair, no hair, like foreskin, no foreskin. But I'm like, there's a little bit more than that, you know? Just there's a little
Yeah.
bit. But it's cool because you can still pick your like identity, your pronouns and whatnot. So you could have like a quote like masculine body with a vulva and then be non-binary in the game. That's pretty cool. And but yeah, you can have sex with the like companions that they give you in the game. And I thought it was just going to be a simple like, oh, you had sex with them. But then when the companion I chose, it's like I had my windows, my blinds up. She comes out boobs and vagina out, and I was like, oh my god, like closing my shades like the neighbors, like, and it was graphic. But
How
that's not
did
why I like the
how
movie.
did how did she have her vagina out? Like was she like inside
It's like
out?
presented. I just mean I wasn't like camera suddenly pans. She's like fully naked.
Okay.
Um, you just don't usually see that in a video game, and so yeah. That was a bit interesting. That's not why I like the game. I just found it to be a very. They put a lot of thought into how horny the game is. Which is weird for something that's not a core part of the gameplay. Like, do you understand what I'm saying?
I guess so. I don't play video games, and I used to play Dungeons and Dragons, or at least watch people play Dungeons and Dragons when I was in college. But I yeah, seems like a lot to, if it doesn't have anything to do with the game or much to do with the game, seems like a lot,
That's what all I'm saying is, like,
like
they put in so much thought into this, and it constitutes, because basically me and this companion, now we're like full on dating, but now all we do is kiss. And I'm like, the first introduction I have to dating this companion is you're showing me her whole body and we're fucking. And then now, so why was that even in the game? I guess is my question. Like, why was that in there in the first place if it's not an important part?
I thought it was all about like elves and like, like trolls and like,
you'd think
different.
No, it's about fucking, because also she in particular was like, it wasn't just simply like, let us bed. It was like the dirty talk was the most graphic part, actually. And I was kind of shocked. Again, that's what I'm saying is I went into this game thinking, oh, cool, everyone's telling me how great this game is. I'm going to play it. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, blush.
But you'd recommend it, eh?
Okay. Yes, I would. You don't have to do that part. And I guess I'm a freak because I was talking to a friend yesterday who was playing. I was like, so did you have sex with any of the companions? And they were like, no. I was like, oh, I guess I'm the weirdo. And then I talked to another friend. She said, no, I didn't do that. Oh, okay. I'm the freak.
I'm sure there are plenty of people who do have sex with their companions. So you're not a freak. I think your friends might be freaks.
Maybe they're the freaks.
Yeah.
Prudes. You're not going to fuck your video game girlfriend? Pfft, couldn't be me. So anyways, I would recommend that game. I think it's interesting. Sorry, that was just like the main... it's a part that stands out in my head just for how unique of a gameplay experience it was.
Yeah.
And then... I felt like I watched... there is a YouTuber called Down the Rabbit Hole, also known by his name, Frederick Knudsen. And for the past 3 years, he's been working on this video that he just dropped. It's 6 hours long, and it's a whole documentary about the history of this video game called EVE Online, and is very interesting. I would highly recommend.
Cool.
How about you?
I would like to shout out 2 podcasts that I've been listening to. One is called A Journey Through Sci-Fi, and it's 2 English blokes talking about... It's kind of like they're friends with Mike Munzer from Evolution of Horror, and it's very similar to that. Like, they take a theme and then they just look at all these movies in that theme, and I'm really enjoying that one. And then there's another one called Every Movie Ever, and it's just 2 guys, and they're very sweet, and it's more random. They're just like kind of talking about,
every
movies.
Movie ever.
Like they did a bunch on Christopher Nolan, so I think they do like go through, like a director or something like that, but then they'll sprinkle in other stuff, and I find them hilarious. And one of the things one of the guys says just is like an earworm in my ear. He just goes, "Get fucked."
It's so fun when you can add things to your vocabulary from other people.
I love that.
I've absorbed that now.
I love that so much more than fuck off or fuck you. Like, get fucked. So I'm going to definitely start saying that at work mostly.
Yeah, to the students.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
I could only say it to my colleagues who know me really well. If I said it to my students or to the administration, it probably wouldn't go over the best.
He probably wouldn't have the job for very much
Yeah,
longer.
but
Yeah.
I have been lately fantasizing about having so much money that I could just say whatever the fuck I wanted and just wait until I got fired. Oh, wouldn't that be amazing?
I have never been fired from a job, and I have, like, if I didn't have the fear, like my last job before this one, I truly hated. Besides the like 4 people that I liked, I hated everyone there, and I like would like fantasize about like burning this one lady in particular's house down. Like that's how dark it got. And if I didn't like, I thought about leaving in a blaze of glory, and then I ended up leaving in the most chicken shit way. I gave them 2 weeks notice, already more than they deserve, and then they were like, "But please, could you stay a little bit longer?" And so then I gave them a 4 weeks notice, and then I was like, I'm a cuck." Like, God, I wanted to just be like, "Deuces, fuck all of you," and then I stayed for 4 weeks. Oh my God, embarrassing. But I didn't, in my head, I was like, oh, but I want a letter of recommendation.
Yeah, I think it's better not to burn bridges, but sometimes it is
It feels like it would
necessary.
be so fun.
Yeah, I think so.
If people deserve it.
And I think people are, I don't know, actually, I don't know. I was going to say I think people are putting up with less shit, but I don't know that that's true. Um, I mean,
Like job wise?
yeah, I mean, people are going on strike, and that's good, but
Oh.
that's only certain people and certain places in the
Wait.
country and certain industries.
Every time I hear people say like join your local union, I'm like, that would be awesome. I literally can't. Like there's like like every time you get a job in North Carolina, they make you sign on the dotted line and it basically says, "Hey, we can fire you at any point, stupid." And you go, "Yes, please, give me thank you, sir." There's no union for us. It's so
No,
sad.
it's so weird too because, I grew up in the North where, of course, there are unions for teachers and things like
Of
that.
course you have rights.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah, it's so weird to work in a right to work state. It's odd. But hey, at least we have our citizenship without signing up for the military.
Can't say that about every country even now, can you?
Hmm. Guess not.
Right? Aren't there some countries that have like mandatory service?
Well, yeah, there is mandatory military service for a lot of countries. That is true. I don't
Yeah.
think that would be so bad if you could decide between like military or stateside, like volunteering.
Yeah. Don't put me through boot camp,
Yeah,
please.
no thank you for that. Yeah, you can miss me with that. But I mean, if everybody had to like, I don't know, do stuff like you do in the Peace Corps for a year,
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, I do think everyone should work a retailer service job just for your humanity.
yeah, or like a service job that encompasses a lot, like maybe be wait staff or something like that. But yeah,
Everyone should,
retail, boy oh boy. Every
not
once in a
for the
while,
faint
I'm
of heart.
like, like I'll see a sign like at Sheets or like Target, and they're hiring, and I'm like, could I do that for a little extra scratch? And then I'm like, oh no, no. I think I've done my time, and you know, yeah, no thanks. I don't think so.
I don't think I could hack it. I say, like, anyone working a service job right now, you are braver than any Marine. Like, yeah, it's rough. I feel like it's only
You're on
getting
the
rougher out
firing
there.
lines. Yeah, definitely. Like I yeah, I feel like the demands on service people are more than they've ever been, and the support is the least it's ever been. And I mean, as a consumer, sometimes I get frustrated, like if somebody gets my order wrong or they don't know something that I need them to know, but on the other hand, if you just take a step back and just think like they haven't been trained properly, they're not trying to fuck you over. They just, or they're at work sick because they can't take off a sick day and, they don't have subsidized childcare and, all that kind of stuff. So I try not to get mad. Sometimes I do get mad, but I try not to.
At least you don't like take it out on people,
Yeah, I usually, I can't think of the last time like I yelled at a service person. Usually I wait till I get in my car and
go fuck.
Mr. C and I used to have a thing. We're gonna write a seething email. Seething email? No, scathing. We're gonna write a scathing email.
Yeah.
Yeah,
to your manager.
Yeah, we never did that, but
okay. Starship Troopers. Here's a brief plot summary of Starship Troopers from IMDb. Humans in a fascist, militaristic future wage war with giant alien bugs.
Okay, I thought it was wage war. And I was like, what's a wage war?
Bugs don't know about currency.
I figured that were the case. It's so confusing.
They're too stupid. A bug having a brain.
Come on,
I
find that offensive.
That guy was like crowning jewel. He was so amazing.
That guy was in a different movie. I mean,
I was a main character.
The performances in this movie were so like underplayed that guy was like, I don't know, like a cartoon.
Starship Troopers was directed by Paul Verhoeven, screenplay by Ed Neuermeyer, based on Starship Troopers by Robert A. Heinlein. And I had seen Starship Troopers maybe twice before, but I guess I didn't know that it was based off of a novel. And when I looked it up, I was shocked because at first I was like, oh, it's based off of a novel. Maybe I'll read it. Shocked to find out that it is like, that this movie is like making fun of that book, and that Paul Verhoeven was like, I didn't even finish it. Too boring. That's amazing. Because when I read it, I was like, I was just shocked. And it kind of fills me with glee to think about anyone who liked that book who would have then watched the movie and like how upset they would be.
Yeah, but they would probably be an ancient person because the book came out in 1959. So let's say you were 20, because I can't do math, in 1959, right? You were born in 1939. Holy shit.
You're old as fuck.
Right? You're like older than my mom.
Yeah, you're probably have passed away at this point.
Well, at this point, for sure. But even in 1997...
You're old.
You're fucking old, dude.
It stars Casper Van Dien as Johnny Rico, Dina Meyer as Dizzy Flores, Denise Richards as Carmen Ibanez, Jake Busey as Ace Levy, Neil Patrick Harris as Carl Jenkins, Clancy Brown, Heart as Sergeant Zim. Here in this house, we love Clancy Brown. I love this whole cast. This whole cast is amazing.
It's really great. Yeah.
Seth Gilliam as Sugar Watkins, Patrick Muldoon as Xander Barkalow, and Michael Ironside as is it Gene Ratchak?
I don't know. That's usually a spelling for women, unless it's French.
Jean.
Jean.
That's why in my head I was like, Jean?
Well, anyway, he I don't think he's ever referred to by his first name. But I just wanted to point out, of course, the black man has the first name Sugar. Now wait a second. There is a white guy, and his name is Kitten. So,
This is true.
all right.
I mean, and also the fact that, like, you know, some of our main characters here are all supposedly, you know, from Buenos Aires, and they're like the whitest people you've ever seen, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
like Casper Van Dien, that guy's name is Johnny Rico, like that. But again, I feel like it adds to the vibe of the film.
Yeah,
Like
for sure.
there are things that I will give a pass in this film because I feel like they are intentional
Hmm.
and they add to the vibe. Um, it was released November. Oh, sorry, I skipped something. Cinematography by Jost Vacano, edited by Mark Goldblatt, Carolyn Ross. Music by Basil Polidoris. These are some interesting names. And it was released November 7th, 1997 in the United States with a runtime of 129 minutes. But I will say, I am typically not a fan of long runtimes, but you cannot find a movie more jam packed, full of just bam, bam, bam than this film. Like,
Hmm.
there's not a single second where that time is wasted. And I can't say that about every film.
Right.
So we begin with a very iconic shot. It's kind of like an internet browser kind of thing. It's a Federal Network ad, and it's like propaganda for the war of all these people saying, I'm doing my part. So we learn that military service guarantees citizenship. To vote in this world, you have to be a part of the military. And we get some background about the war that Earth is waging against Clendathu? Clendathu?
I think it's
Um,
Clendathu.
Clendathu. They got to be killed. We got to kill them all. They are a race of bugs, insects, bugs said with much derision by these characters. And we see a video on the front lines of this reporter. And then we see him immediately get skewered by a warrior bug. And we see one man who will later find out his name is Kitten, a great name, is killed. And our hero, Johnny Rico, is also hurt and says, you know, like, get out of here, leave. And then it fades to black. And then it says 1 year earlier. So we see our main characters learning, getting taught by Michael Ironside. Also, heart for him. Love seeing him in anything. This is Ratchak. He is teaching, and we see the love triangle of Johnny Rico. Dizzy is very much in love with Johnny, but Johnny and Carmen are a thing. But you can even kind of get from the jump that this is one of those like high school relationships where, you know, the girl is biding her time until she goes off to bigger and better things, you know. We learn kind of the ideology of this era, which is violence is the supreme authority from which all other authority is derived, and that there is a difference between a civilian and a citizen. A citizen accepts personal responsibility for the safety and the body politic, defending it with his life. A civilian does not. So, again, I find it just very interesting that the book that this was based on kind of presented this idea unironically, you know? Whereas this movie, I think, goes to illuminate how fucking buck wild of an idea that is.
Mm.
But characters never do. You know, it's presented as very like, I guess like tongue in cheek, as in everybody is so earnest in believing this that it seems crazy, you
Yeah.
know? And so it's less having them turn around on this idea and more seeing it to its natural conclusion, which I think is entertaining. So we meet Neil Patrick Harris, aka Carl, and you know he's kind of like he's playing Neil Patrick Harris. You know he's snarky little guy. Next we go to science class where they're learning about the biology of these bugs, taught by Rue McClanahan. Rest in peace. Love her so much. She is amazing. She's got this great like makeup on. Like she looks like a crazy scientist. She's got this cane, you know, that she's waving around. And so they're learning about the Archelian sand beetle and dissecting it. And Dizzy and Johnny are completely fine with this, but Denise Richards vomits. It's too gross. Next, we cut to Neil Patrick Harris is testing Johnny's psychic ability by just doing like, he's got like a card, and then like Johnny has to psychically know what the next card is going to be, and uh, he's bad at it. And even Neil Patrick Harris is like, statistically, like you should have guessed what the next one is at this point, but he just can't. And he's also not good at math, which is, you need to be good at math to be able to go to the pilot program, which Denise Richards is going to do. Neil Patrick Harris is psychic and can control and talk to his ferret. And he says, well, I can't use it on humans yet. Okay.
One thing I wanted to back up with with Rue McClanahan's character, how she almost seems to have admiration for the bugs. She and the correspondent are the only people I think in the whole movie who or maybe one of those talking heads. That lady was one of the talking heads on the debate show. Are the only people who seem to have any kind of positive feeling towards the bugs whatsoever. But she's like, we like to think that we're big shots and, we're the top of, we're the, what I'm saying. But bugs, they don't have egos and they have this hive mind and they're adaptable. And she's like saying all these things. And so she's like, they got a lot going for them. And so I just thought that was interesting.
When I was kind of reading I just read the Wikipedia article on the original novel, but some people think that this concept of saying that the bugs have like a hive mind was the author having derision towards communism. Like, the bugs are the stand-ins for communists, which are the true evils, as we all know. I'm being sarcastic. So we then go to this little like co-ed football game, the Giants versus the Tigers, which is where we meet Xander, who is on the Giants, and he's kind of flirting with Carmen a little bit because like Johnny, fucking sends him flying and he lands right in front of Denise Richards, Carmen, and they start flirting, and he's a pilot, so they're gonna get together. But Johnny ends up winning the game. And we then see him talking to his parents. He's going to enlist in the federal service, which they are super against. He comes from a wealthy family, and they try to get him to just go on a vacation with him. But he wants to be a citizen. Actually, what he really wants is just to be with Carmen. But he does have some chops. Like, he's really good athletically, but he's not good at much of anything else. So then there's this kind of like, I guess, final dance for the students, and Dizzy really comes on to Johnny, and he just says, "Can we just be friends?" He totally kind of leaves her in the dirt. And I'm at this point, I'm like, girl, like, leave this guy. She is so sexy. And like, I know he is sexy for sure, but if I was her, I would be like, cut your losses, man. Like, this guy, he will never get over Carmen, but when Johnny goes to find Carmen, she's still fucking flirting with Xander, but he pulls her away and lets her know that he is also going to sign up for the federal service. And Carmen is like, cool, my parents aren't home. Like, let's fuck. Okay. So the next day, they're all going to sign up for the federal service. And we find out that Carl, with his superior genius and psychic skills, he got into like games and theory, which is military intelligence. Carmen did get into flight school, and Johnny is just in the infantry. And I love this scene. They're kind of giving their papers to this guy who we can just see while he's sitting at his desk that he has like a mechanical arm. And, with like Carl, he's like, oh, smart guy, we need you. And with Carmen, he's like, we always need more pilots. And when Johnny says he's in the infantry, he's like, the mobile infantry made me the man that I am today. And then he turns and we see that he also has lost his legs. And so Johnny is kind of just like, gulp.
So everybody so far who's a teacher or, an adult that we have seen, Rasek and this guy and Rue McClanahan, who I don't know if she was burned on her face, but she's blind, all have some kind of disability. And I think we can assume that it's because they enlisted in the service.
Yeah, it's just part and parcel. So then we have our goodbye scene between Johnny and Carmen, and Johnny says, I love you. And Carmen just kind of looks at him and he's like, just say it back. Try it on. Try it on for size. And she goes, I love you, Johnny. And I really like, I love you. Okay, bye. This guy is down. Like, he's so down bad that he's not, like, he's signing up for the military for her, and he's never gonna, like, they're not in the same division.
No.
And Carl, Carmen, and Johnny have a little moment too where they're like, we'll probably never see each other again, but let's promise to stay friends forever. Well, I do love it because they're like, Carl's like, well, I'll probably never see you again, but sure, why not? So, okay, we go back to the Federal Network and we see like children with guns, crime and punishment. Everybody catch the execution tonight at 6. He'll be killed in the electric chair. Like, everything is very sensationalized. They are, doing federal studies to try to find psychic people. And then we see a cow being fed to an arachnid, which is then censored. And also it's so funny because the cow being fed to the arachnid, that's censored. We just see like a big, like a literal censor bar and blood on the walls. And then it cuts to like the most graphic scene of like human dead bodies. Like that's fine. And all of this is on purpose, like everything here is intentional. And I like that. Like, I feel like, I don't know, it's been said a million times, but it is wild that I feel like American cinema is completely fine with violence. Like, who cares? Dead bodies, whatever. But certain things are just off limits for some reason. So then we cut to the boot camp and we meet Sergeant Zim, aka Clancy Brown. And we get a great, little boot camp scene. This one guy's laughing at Zim while he's talking, so he just fucking breaks the dude's arm and calls medic. That happens a lot. Then Dizzy joins the squadron. And when she comes up, Zim is like, why did you switch to this one? She's like, because I heard this was the best infantry. And he's like, sure it is, but why do you think you deserve it? So then she takes off her jacket and fights him, but he bests her. But he's kind of like, all right, this chick is cool. And Dizzy is cool. I do think something this movie does so well is the women in the infantry are all badasses. Like, just, it's never really talked about that, like, oh, this is a woman, like, they're just cool. So then we meet Jake Busey, aka Ace, who kind of gives Johnny some shit for being a rich kid, but he's like, you got some guts for a rich kid. Later at lunch, Johnny doesn't want to sit with Diz and kind of accuses her of joining just to, be around him, which she vehemently denies. Later, Johnny and Ace talk about wanting to be squad leader, even though Diz is clearly the best at it. And, just, a lot of scenes during this boot camp. And there then is a co-ed shower scene, boobs and butts are out. And this was apparently very, like, scandalous. Like in the real world, I'm saying, like, the bodies, no problem. But men and women bathing together, forget about it. How could you? Later, we have Johnny, sending a video message to Carmen, and just I think this is a pretty fun part of the movie, just seeing the infantry bonding and training. And then we cut to Carmen, who is, learning how to be a pilot. Apparently, she's good at what she does, but she's kind of risky, and all the other trainees think that she's crazy. She ends up getting second chair in with Xander, who, again, specifically tried to find her to work with her. Like he says, like, heard this crazy girl coming through the academy, good at math, a little wild on the stick, but a natural.
Wild on the stick.
Yeah, a little bit, but she likes it. She thinks that's a cool thing to say. She kind of gets a little bit crazy with the flying, and he's like, hey, watch out, because if you break the rules, you won't be able to fly, and I won't be able to either. And she's like, wow, so your career is in my hands. And gives her a little Denise Richards smile. So then we cut back to Johnny. He's playing laser tag with real lasers, fighting. And again, Dizzy is clearly the best kind of like squad leader. She is able to give Johnny good directions, and he kind of mimics what he did when he played football, and their team wins, but he becomes the squad leader. So then there's a mail call. Dizzy doesn't get any mail, which I did think was also sad. And Carmen now has sent Johnny this like video where she's basically just breaking up with him. It's like such a bummer, because when all the guys see her, they're like, whoa, you don't deserve something like that. And then she breaks up with him in the video, and they're like all kind of slowly just like, ooh, like walk away. Then they have this like simulated combat for Johnny to kind of test out being a squad leader. At one point, there's this guy, Breckenridge, who I was like, where have I seen this guy? He played this character named Cooter the Recruiter on Glee. So there's that fun fact. He is just kind of like a dumb farmer hick. And at one point, his helmet is messed up. So Johnny is like, okay, we'll take it off and we'll take a look at it. And then when that happens, another cadet shoots a stray laser and it just blows his head off. I knew that I watched this movie before, but that scene still took me by surprise. It happened so fast. And the soldier that accidentally killed him is dismissed, and Johnny has to go through this like public administrative punishment, which happens when Clancy Brown goes to talk to Dean Norris of Breaking Bad fame. And because Dean Norris is like, well, we already lost 2 recruits from this. Like, do you think we can save the kid? And Clancy Brown's like, I think we can. But he has to get administrative punishment. So he's flogged publicly, gets 10 lashes. And now Ace is squad leader and does look a little bit smug. Next, we cut back to Carmen in space with Xander. And yeah, they just have some weird flirting going on. It's kind of cringy to watch.
Come on.
Xander's like, 3 weeks on a starship and you think you can lick my nabs? What the
lick
fuck?
My nabs?
But it's so like cliche, kind of like cliche smarmy, that I feel like it's like, I don't know. It just is funny to me. I think this movie just does like such an earnestness to everybody's lines, but I think everybody does a good job at it. Like,
I do too. I mean, I watched this 2 days in a row, and the first day I'm just like, oh my God, I hate the acting in this. But the second day I'm like, I love the acting in this, because everybody is like so like even. Like when tragedy strikes, there's like no reaction. They might say they're sad or they can't stop crying, but there's like nothing going on emotionally with these people. And what has happened here is she has replotted the course so that it's more efficient. But lick my nabs?
I'm also reminded of a line in the beginning of the movie that made me laugh out loud. When Carmen and Johnny are first leaving, like Johnny's parents won't see him off because he has been cut off. But Carmen's late and she's like, yeah, my dad got all sad because he got this like strange idea that he was never going to see me again. So it just took forever to pack. Like she just says that so casually when that's like the saddest thing to imagine of a
Right. Yeah.
father sending his daughter off thinking I'll never see her again. It just made me laugh.
Parents, am I right?
Oh my god. So then we see that there's an asteroid moving towards Carmen and Xander's ship. Carmen's able to handle it. And like, you know, she's like, I've got one hell of a flight team, which is why I'm able to do this. Again, it's all very cliche. Johnny goes down to take a stroll down Washout Lane, aka is quitting because he feels so bad about, you know, his mistake. And he gets a video call with his mom and dad. But as the call is happening, like their lights go dark. I'm like, oh, what is that? And then the feed just cuts. Like it's so not it seems it's like anticlimactic. But we find out what has happened is that Buenos Aires was fucking wiped off the map from an asteroid shot by the bugs. So like his whole family's dead. And you know, immediately everyone starts running and they're like, it's war. So Johnny decides to join back up. Who says this line? Goddamn bugs whacked us, Johnny.
They're
Is
watching
that Ace?
no, it wasn't Ace. It was the red-haired soldier. I can't remember her name.
Oh, yeah.
Goddamn bugs whacked us, Johnny. Come on.
Zim really wants to also go to combat, but Dean Norris is like, nah, you're gonna have to bust yourself down to private. And Johnny, you know, asks to come back in, but Dean Norris is like, well, you already signed your paper. And Zim says, does this look like your signature? Doesn't look like it to me, and rips it up. So Johnny's able to come back and he's like, you know, sir, yes, sir, with a little smirk. We get some shots from Buenos Aires of just the chaos and destruction and some good old propaganda that the only good bug is a dead bug. The only good unicorn is a dead unicorn. So Sky Marshal Dean says humans should dominate the galaxy, not insects. And then we see a cute little film featuring Carl, aka Neil Patrick Harris, who's talking about aiming for the nerve stem on the you know, opposing bugs. Then we cut to some kids. Like it basically the propaganda is like you can keep the fight up in your own, you know, home, and some children are just stomping on roaches as if that's going to do anything.
And then when they cut to the teacher, she's like, yay! She's like maniacally happy. It's crazy.
I think, like, even though this movie is so silly, it is kind of like scary in a way how this does mirror real life, though, of wars can be happening and people will take it upon themselves to, like, not to get all deep about, you know, a scene of kids stomping on roaches, because I don't want to compare humans to roaches, but if we just take the concept of these kids doing something that they think is helping the fight when actually it is inconsequential, that does happen to real people who get caught in the crossfire of propaganda of, you know, like this is what happens when you say that there's a whole group of people that are bad, is that those people who might be of that ethnicity or religion or any sort of identity get targeted by people like, you know, innocent people who have nothing to do with any sort of warfare going on, because people think that they need to take it upon themselves to stamp out, you know, the evil where they are, when it's just not, it's fucked up, you know? So even though it's like a very silly scene, I was like, it is sad how this is a real thing, you know, that they're capturing. It's only silly because luckily they used roaches and not like, you know, human people, which I think helps this movie work because it makes you feel less sad about the actual horrors of war and propaganda and whatnot.
No, I mean, it's really fun to watch the battle scenes, you know. in a way that, watching a war movie would feel totally different where there were actual people dying. But seeing these bugs get mowed down or whatever, I mean, I'm here for it. It's really
Yeah, it's
fun.
fun. Yeah. So then we get the reporter, or we get this little wait. Oh, is this the scene with like the debates, like the talking heads?
No, this is the
No.
reporter, and he's just reporting on the war, and he says, "Some say the bugs were provoked by the intrusion of humans into their natural habitat, that a live and let live policy is preferable to war with the bugs." And Johnny overhears this, and he says, "Let me tell you something. I'm from Buenos Aires, and I say kill them all."
Yeah, and all the recruits are like, yeah.
And the reporter is just like, "Yeah, well, there you have it."
Yep. So Johnny, Dizzy, and Ace all get matching tattoos, and at one point Ace just like pours alcohol over Johnny's fresh tattoo, which is this is stupid. So in the like, everybody's about to ship out. Carmen is there with Xander, and they kind of have a little moment. Xander challenges Johnny to a fight, and Xander says that they're going to disregard rank, and this leads to Johnny immediately just kicking the shit out of him. And they get separated, and Xander's like, no, I think Ace says like mobile infantry and fleet just don't mix.
Yeah.
Very dramatic. So now we get them on the front lines. They're going in. First wave of bugs, or they're all shooting plasma. It did not look like sperm to me.
There's one that looks like sperm, but these plasma bugs are so cool. They might be my favorite bugs, but they're just like shooting into the sky this plasma. But I swear to God, one of the animators was like, like made a little sperm.
I'll take your word for it.
Yeah.
So in the midst of this, all these ships are crashing into each other, and like the flight commander says they need to go into high orbit, but a plasma bomb hits them. And I thought Carmen died in the scene.
So did I.
Yeah, I was like, damn, she's dead. It seems like for all intents and purposes, this fleet has been destroyed, and the commander, says like somebody really fucked up, like the intelligence was wrong or something. So now when we go to the front lines, it is basically the scene that we saw at the very beginning of, the reporter, reporting on this and, getting attacked. So we got the giant plasma bugs, and then the regular, like, kind of soldier bugs. Nothing is going well. People are getting hurt. And Ace, the squad leader, just kind of doesn't know what to do. When they ask him what the next move is, he's like, I don't know. And Johnny says, kill them all. And, a bunch of the characters that we met at the beginning are all killed, and in various horrible ways, including, Shujumi? Who is this? Is he the guy with like the facial hair?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And like the woman with the short red hair, and Kitten gets killed, and then we see Johnny get speared through the thigh, and it seems like he gets eaten, and it kind of fades to black. And then the Federal Network reports that 100,000 were killed in 1 hour. So the Sky Marshal Deans resigns. The new Sky Marshal says, it's funny, like he just kind of like shakes hands with the new Sky Marshal, and she just kind of turns and just starts talking. Like, I mean, just everything is just so like, this happened, and then it happens. I don't know if I'm explaining it right, but it's just very like boom, boom, boom. The new Sky Marshal says we need to understand the bug to kill the bugs. So then we have the scene of the talking heads arguing on TV. This older woman is saying basically like, what if this is the wrong way to go about this? These could be intelligent creatures. And this other guy who we were saying is like stealing the whole fucking show. He's just like, well, I find that bugs with brains, I find that offensive. Like, he's just crazy. I don't know.
I
This
think
guy
it's
needs
really
his own
great
movie.
because, like you said before, like if that was said about a group of people, that would be so highly inappropriate and wrong. Not to say that people don't say that on TV, but and definitely when we're at war with a group of people, that those kind of things can be said. But he is just like flabbergasted that such a thing, you know. And it's just really cartoonish.
Yeah, but in the best way.
Yeah.
Xander asks, how could this happen? Because it turns out Xander and Carmen did not die. And Carmen says, we thought we were smarter than the bugs. And Carmen goes to check the list of soldiers killed in action. And it says that Johnny Rico was killed in action. But we cut, and he's actually alive in a water tank, and this robot is doing surgery on his thigh. And Ace and Dizzy, come up to the window, and they're like, ha ha, it says you were killed in action. And then Dizzy kisses the glass, and like Rico kind of like opens up an eye and like smiles around the tube in his mouth. We don't really get an explanation on like why he is saved and nobody else is.
Yeah. Doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Because,
Yeah.
And I don't even know how we would have gotten this shot, but I swear to God, it looks like the bug was like, closing its mouth or bug mouth
should be dead
on him. He should be dead for sure.
So they've been Ace, Dizzy, and Johnny are with a new lieutenant. Ace says he hears that the new lieutenant is a real nut buster, and he repeats that to a woman named Birdie, and she just like punches him out. And she's like, "Don't you say that about the lieutenant." Turns out this lieutenant is Ratchak from the beginning. He says, "This is for all you new people. I have only one rule. Everybody fights, no one quits. If you don't do your job, I'll kill you myself. Welcome to the Roughnecks." And this is also when we see Seth Gilliam as Sugar Watkins. And, now they're back on the front lines. He's shooting a bug. And I got to say, the like, there's definitely like CGI in this, but there is also a lot of practical effects. And I think it looks great,
Me too.
Like you said, like the scenes of them attacking the bugs, it's so fun. It's like watching a video game, honestly. It's just, everything is entertaining. So Sugar tells Johnny to nuke him, and, we get some more battle scenes. There's a giant bug, and Johnny jumps on it, like shoots a hole into its like back, and then shoves a grenade in it, and it blows up. So that gets him promoted to corporal. And he asks Ace to be squad leader. Ace is like, "Nah, I can't. Been there, done that." So then Diz gets asked to be squad leader, and Sugar tells Johnny, "You kill bugs good," which is the highest compliment I think anyone could receive. So later that night, Ratchak tells everyone, "Have fun. That's an order." So Diz goes up to Rico and asks to dance, but Johnny's like, "No." At this point, I'm like, "Why, dude?
Yeah,
Why?"
why not?
But then Ratchak is like, "You asked me before what advice I could give you. I'll give you some now. Don't pass up a good thing." So then he goes back to Diz, and she has, like no self-respect. So she like totally like is happy to be like, leftovers for Johnny. And they have sex. She says that she loves him, and he doesn't say anything back.
Wait a minute.
Okay.
I want to go back to my parenthetical. She opens up his jacket and she goes for his nipple first. Is that a move? I have never in my life.
I feel like that's showing that she's like, I don't know, like she is just a whole lot of woman, She is I feel like whereas Carmen, is always presented as this like soft, intelligent, like perfect lady, Dizzy is more like I say this in a cliche way, of like one of the guys, and I don't know. I feel like she as much as giving it to him as he would be giving it to her, I guess.
Right. I thought it was so weird. I'm like, what the hell? So before she even kisses him on his mouth, she's like, I gotta get it, that nipple. Like, but I guess that's her thing.
Maybe this is why it just doesn't work out between them. So So they fuck. Later, the next day, Ratchek notices some rocks falling. Now there's flying bugs.
Oh, these are so cool.
They are very
Love
cool.
these bugs.
One grabs a trooper and assaults him, so Ratchek mercy kills him and tells everyone else. He gives a little death flag of his own and says, I would hope that everyone here would do the same if I were in that position. Well, I guess we can safely say he will be dying later.
I wonder if that will happen. Yeah.
So they get to this outpost. Everyone's dead. There's bodies everywhere. And we learn that one of the soldiers had his brain sucked out. There's been a general hiding in the freezer who's like totally out of his mind. Like, we're going to die. And he says that the bugs get into your brain and make you do things, which maybe is the cause of the poor intelligence that was given earlier. More fighting. The bugs descend on the outpost. And the general is this general is like totally wiped out by a flying bug. Ratchek, gets his fucking legs ripped off. So Johnny Mercy kills him, and Dizzy throws a grenade into a tanker bug, but then is skewered by a warrior bug. And they get around to the boat, and she gives the saddest line ever, like the most pathetic line ever, because
oh my God,
Johnny's like, oh, and she goes, I'm dying, but it's all right because I got to have you, and then dies.
Get fucked.
Get fucked. It's just so like pathetic. Like she's such a failure. And, like it's so sad because she's so cool.
Yeah,
like
she's such a badass.
Like she's better than everyone, and yet she's like simping over this guy so hard, who doesn't even like her, won't even say I love you to her. So Neil Patrick Harris is back now, looking like he's a part of now looking like what's his name? Who is the guy in Inglourious Bastards? The German actor.
Yeah, Christoph Waltz.
He looks like Christoph Waltz. He's got like the black trench coat and the hat. This is again all on purpose. He definitely looks like an SS soldier. He says that because he meets back up with Carmen and Johnny. He says that they knew that there was a brain bug on Planet P where they were. Carmen's like, you still sent the infantry out there, but Johnny's like, whatever, it's fine. And that gets promoted to lieutenant. So now Johnny is in the position of training people. These new recruits are just fresh off of basic training, and they literally do look like one of them looks like a child.
I think a lot of them look like children, and I think that was a callback to the commercial earlier, where I'm doing my part, and then there's this literal kid, he's like 12 maybe, and I'm doing my part too. And these people who they've just gotten fresh off of boot camp, they look like teenagers.
Yeah, they're babies. Little babies.
Little babies.
So the ship Xander and Carmen on gets hit, and they have to abandon ship. Their captain's bisected by a door, and tells them, "Leave now. That's and dies." So they escape, and they crash it on Planet P in a cave, and they're attacked. And they manage to get a call through to Johnny, but it appears as though they have been killed by the bugs. So Johnny decides to call off the rescue mission. But then it turns out they're still alive. They're both just kind of skewered by, these insect limbs. And Carmen's like, why didn't they kill us? Xander or I don't know who says what, but they want us alive.
Carmen says, why didn't they kill us? And Xander says, they want us alive.
Well, because they didn't kill you.
That's the dumbest. Oh, thanks, Xander. Because
yeah, thanks. That's wow,
really
very
adds
insightful.
A lot. Yeah, really, you're a brilliant man.
So Johnny does go into the cave, and there's kind of like two paths he can go on, and he sends the rest of the infantry one way and asks two volunteers to come with him to rescue Carmen because he just knows that she's alive. So Ace and Sugar go with him. Xander and Carmen are pinned down, and this giant brain bug comes forward. This thing is just nasty. And Xander hands Carmen a knife, and the brain bug skewers Xander's brain and sucks it out. I do love this. Like, he just looks like he's like hollowed out, and just drops. So the bug's about to do the same to Carmen, but she slices the skewer off, and the brain bug retreats. So then Sugar, Johnny, and Ace walk up, and one warrior bug slices Sugar, and so he decides to sacrifice himself with the nuke to let Ace, Carmen, and Johnny escape. So then when they escape, they see that the brain bug has been captured. And this is one of my just absolute favorite scenes in the whole movie. So it's captured, everybody's cheering, and Neil Patrick Harris comes up to it and kind of like touches it to read its mind. And he goes, "It's afraid. It's afraid." And everyone cheers as if this is like the best news they could have gotten. Like it's just, it makes me laugh every time. Of just, it just sums up the whole movie so well. Of, we don't want peace. We don't want to,
No.
come to any sort of agreement. Like, oh, it fears us? Fuck yes. Like, we did our job. Like, everyone's like cheering. Like, this is the best thing ever. And Neil Patrick Harris delivers that line so well. Like, with his little smirk, I just feel like it's such a great part. It turns out Zim is the one who got the bug. He is a private now. He wanted to join the fight that badly, and he salutes Johnny. And so then we cut to another one of those like little browser video moments, and we find out that the Federation is probing the bugs, and that gets censored. And then we see the whole cast of characters in a recruitment commercial. And that, the fight, it's still going. And that's the end of the movie.
So good. Oh my God.
It's so good. I hope I've done it justice.
I
It's
think
kind
you
of hard
have.
to, it's hard to like, because if you just go play by play, I feel like it doesn't exactly capture, like, there's just such
It's
a
a
manic
vibe.
energy.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's definitely a vibe. I mean, we did RoboCop on the show as like one of my favorite movies of all time. And I think
He just doesn't miss. Like, he doesn't miss.
well,
He's so good.
I guess he missed with like, what is it, Showgirls or something?
But that's like a cult classic. There's a lot of people who like that movie.
Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, and a lot of people hate this one, but I think it's so good.
It's really, and I guess you got to be in the right frame of mind. I don't know. Like, again, you can't just kind of passively watch this movie because you'll write it off as just a whatever flick. But if you go in and you just recognize that it's trying to be silly, like I don't know how to explain, but it's like the earnestness and the way that it's cliche and campy is on purpose. And that's the part that's enjoyable,
And
it's camp.
I mean, I think you could probably miss Total Recall, and you could probably miss RoboCop too. Like,
Yeah.
these are smart films, I think. I just don't get why I didn't see it. Do you know if your dad has seen this movie?
Yes.
I mean, he must have. He must have. And
Totally
like,
up his alley.
I wrote on social media, if I did watch this, I was probably blackout drunk, which is a distinct possibility. These were prime drinking years for me. But I mean, holy Moses. I love this movie, Mac. I'm glad you suggested it.
It's a great film. Well, let's get to some trivia. This movie's got some great trivia. In a 2016 interview, Casper Van Dien, who, reminder, played Johnny Rico, revealed a funny incident when he was picking up his two daughters from school. He says, "I went by the line at school to pick up my kids. You drive up to the school, and when I get there, and there are these 6, 10, and 8-year-old boys hanging out with my daughters, I pull up in the line and the boys go, 'Johnny Rico! Why didn't you tell us your dad was Johnny Rico?' And I said, 'What are you boys doing watching Starship Troopers?' And they said, 'Our dads made us watch it with them.' Then my daughters get in the car and my 10-year-old says, 'Dad, were you really naked in Starship Troopers?' I said, 'Yeah.' She said, 'How could you do that to me?' Then my 8-year-old says, 'Wait, like naked? And I said, 'Yep.' She said, 'Oh my God, my life is ruined.' That was the longest 3-minute ride home I have had in my life." I feel like people always give shit to like female actresses or any sort of any well, people give shit to any woman ever, but women who have done any sort of nude modeling or posing or videos, the like perennial question is always like, but what about your children? Which I think is stupid anyway. Like, women are allowed to be like, just because somebody became a parent doesn't mean that they stopped becoming like a sexual creature. You know what I mean? It's like, you don't just become a nun after you have children. I'm not saying it would be, definitely would be weird to see your parent in that situation. But anyways, I like that we're getting this story from the male perspective. I feel like you never hear about that.
Yeah, me too.
In a 2014 interview with Empire magazine, director Paul Verhoeven said of the shower scene, Americans get more upset about nudity than ultraviolence. I am constantly amazed by that. I mean, I haven't seen any sex scenes in American film that are anything other than completely boring. A bare breast is more difficult to get through the censors than a body riddled with bullets. And that is just so fucking weird. It is bizarre. And any sort of like sex between that isn't like, missionary, heterosexual sex, even like crazier to get through the censors. There was this great deleted scene that was just going around the internet from Knocked Up, where Jonah Hill's character is talking about how he finds Brokeback Mountain so boring because you never see any real sex. Like, he's like, I want to see Jake Gyllenhaal suck some dick, and I agree. Like, and he's like, what, like the best gay movie ever, and I can't even see a dude get hummered. And I know it was a joke, but I agree. I find that pretty fucked up. It's a good point. And I remember watching this one movie about like basically like the MPAA, like censorship in movies, and how this one film, they would not let it get anything less than an X rating because there was a scene where like a woman came up from performing oral sex on another woman and wiped her mouth. And that was like, that's it. You can't do that. Where it's like, come on. Like, really?
I think that oral sex on women is maybe one of the least depicted acts on film.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stake my flag. I'm gonna throw my gauntlet. What am I doing? I just want to say I'm pretty sure that that's a true fact.
I think that's probably accurate. Like, and like, I don't know, just it's just so fucked up. Like, and this stuff really is impressionable. Like people, I feel like it's like, certainly me when I was a kid, there would be times where I would watch something, and when you're a kid, you're taking in information as in like, I'm learning about the world right now. Like, I am learning what the world is like, and it really just fucks up a whole swath of people to only depict sex as being like as first heterosexual and then like only for the man's pleasure, like that.
Yeah.
It just fucks people up, and it is fucked up. Renowned director Takashi Miike, a big fave of World of Horror, once called this his favorite movie. A man of taste, a man of culture.
That's almost as fun as Christopher Nolan calling Ricky Bobby, The Ballad of Ricky Bobby, one of his favorite movies.
Yeah, I do. It is. Excuse me. It is. I don't know. I love stuff like that. Well, what does Letterboxd have to say about it? Cranky G gave it a 0.5 star. Atrocious travesty. Director clueless about the source material decides to mock what they do not understand, shames themselves and everyone involved. Not worth 1 penny or 1 minute of anyone's time.
What was that critic's name?
Cranky G.
Oh, okay.
I think you might be stupid. Like, I'm not saying you gotta like the film, but like, I think you might be stupid. And you are a part of the group of people that I said I had glee thinking about enjoying the source material and then watching the movie and being offended. I'm glad you were so upset. That's maybe, if anything good had to come out of it, it was you having a bad time. Sputnik Sweet Sputnik Sweet Tea gave it a half star. There aren't enough words to describe how bad this movie is. I've never rooted for the death of a main character more. Overly theatrical and unwatchable. Well, he did die at one point, so you kind of got your wish. Max M gave it a half star. I really chose to watch this over playing Call of Duty. P.S. Sorry, Kyle. Love you, buddy. Denim. Now on to the people of culture. Denim Dynamo gave it 5 stars. My friend would like to know more, so I enlightened him. What does that mean?
Well, at the end of all those promos, it would be like, to know more.
Ah. Kyle gave it 5 stars. The beautiful thing about this film is that it kicks ass when you're 10 and when in your 30s for the same and completely different reasons.
I hope this is the same Kyle.
Yeah. Did this Kyle make Max not play Call of Duty? But I do like Max was respectful. He was just kind of like, let's let bygones be bygones. I love you. Alan French gave it 5 stars. I mean, they kill bugs. I don't know what else you want. Well, what phobia is that? Entomophobia is the fear of bugs, and gymnophobia is the fear of nudity. I like that. How would we rate it? I'd give it 5 dead bugs.
5?
I'd give it 5.
Oh, Lord.
Listen, I give 5s for things that I have no notes. I can't think of a single note.
I'm gonna give it 4.5. I think some of this stuff was, I don't know. I don't know. I don't think it was perfect, but I think it was real
pretty damn good.
Yeah.
Yeah. We can. P.S. Sorry, Mom. Love you, buddy. We can agree to disagree. Well, what have we learned?
Fuck. Never pass up a good thing.
He's just not that into you.
Yeah.
Move on. There are more fish in the sea.
Definitely. Diz.
You're like the sexiest woman ever.
I mean, part of the thing is these are supposed to be high school students, and they are 29.
30.
Yeah. So that's
not.
part of it. Like, if they actually had actors that age, maybe it would make a little more sense. But yeah, they look like they should know better.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Would we watch it again?
Yeah, fuck yes. Yeah. I watched it 2 days in a row.
Favorite scene / kill?
Well, I like the one where Johnny's on top of the tank bug and he shoots a hole in the carapace and then he puts a grenade in it.
That's a great part.
Pretty good. How about you?
I liked Xander getting his brain sucked out. I like the whole basic training part too. I felt like that was pretty fun. I mean, I'm a big Clancy Brown stan, so of course I like that scene.
I also like how Sergeant Zim, when Johnny's getting flogged or right about to get flogged, he gives him that thing to bite down on and he's like, this helps. I know.
I like that part too. It's like a little lore.
Yeah. And he has he has sadness for Johnny in that moment and then he's got respect for him later. And, I like it.
Yeah. Full circle. Who wins the You Fool Award? Diz.
Yeah.
Just it's hard to watch at some point.
She's a cuck queen, right?
She is a cuck queen. Like, God. She's a glutton for punishment.
She really is, man.
He says no so many times.
And then at the end of her life, she's like, well, at least I got to fuck you and suck on your nipple.
What? Just, ugh.
So my life wasn't a total waste.
You hate to see it.
All right. I'm definitely going to massacre the names here, so I apologize in advance. But the next movie we looked at is called Slashback, and the summary from IMDb states in Nunavut, 4 girls who like horror and alien movies love their phones and even their poor elders who believe in shapeshifters because they didn't have the internet, realize local disappearances are linked to a shapeshifting alien. It was directed by Naila Inukshuk, screenplay by Inukshuk and Ryan Cavan, and it stars Tassiana Shirley as Micah, Alexis Wolfe as Jessie, Nalajos Ellsworth as Uki, Chelsea Prusky as Lena, Frankie Vincent Wolfe as Ayu, Rory Anawak as Tamasi, Kristen Brun as Tony Conk, Sean Benson as Officer Lefebvre, and also Troy James was featured as the contortionist who made all the creatures so very creepy. Cinematography by Guy Godfrey and edited by Simone Smith. It was released on the 13th of March 2022 at South by Southwest, and it has a running time of 86 minutes. How do you feel about that runtime, Mac?
Fabulous runtime.
Okay, so in the opening scene, we see a father teaching his young daughter about hunting, and he says hunters must be knowledgeable and patient. He teaches her to shoot and says to focus. And I love the shot of him just like hugging his daughter as she's got the rifle and, she's taking shot at something in the distance. Just,
It's
and then
very sweet.
we get Christian Brun's scene, which is about 2 minutes. I think he's like first listed on the call sheet, but he's not in this movie for very long.
Yeah.
But he snowmobiles out to a site to gather data, and he encounters a tiny creature. He places his face close to it and gets to get a good look, and he's sucked down into the ice and killed.
This is like Bryan Cranston was featured so heavily in like the Godzilla movie as like, Bryan Cranston's in this, guys. Bryan Cranston's in this. And then I went to see it and Bryan Cranston dies after like, it feels like 5 minutes.
Oh, I think I missed that one.
I mean, like, I don't really know who this guy is, but I think that's so funny when people do that of like, because that also happened in Tetsuo Iron Man, or just like how some, and it's understandable, but some movies who have mostly unknown casts are like, we got to get this like a name in there, and we'll have him for 5 minutes, and that would be good.
Did you watch Orphan Black?
The like first season, I think.
He played Allison's husband.
Oh yeah. Oh, okay. Because I knew I had recognized him, but I was like, I didn't realize he was like a big deal. Or
yeah, I don't know if he's a big deal, but bigger than the rest of the cast. There's a radio broadcast saying it is the longest day of the year, and there's a solstice dance tonight. And we meet Micah, who's the girl from the beginning. She blows off her dad to meet up with some friends at the park. Uki, another girl, is trying to scam Ayu out of her $15. And but Micah gets the money back, and all these other girls like join in the chase, chasing down Uki to get that money back. And in the background, we see the landing of a spaceship, but nobody else sees that.
And the deal in question is like, she's like, well, you can't buy anything with $15, but I'll let you use my phone sometimes, but you can't use the data. And like, there's all these stipulations.
And
you can hang out with us sometimes.
I use like, can I hang out with you then? And she's like, you can hang out with us like very occasionally.
Like, she's just stealing this money from this guy.
Yeah. We're introduced to the town and the kids. Micah's dad is selling fish, and she's embarrassed by her dad, and she proposes that they steal his boat and go out for a joyride. And everyone's into it except for one of the girls, Lily.
Is that the girl? She, uh,
The rich
she's got like,
girl.
yeah, the rich girl. Yeah, she's got like this crossbody bag. Yeah.
Yeah. So when Micah, she kind of breaks into her house, which is going to be echoed later, which I thought was pretty cool. But anyway, so she kind of breaks into her house and she's trying to make as little noise as possible. And there's a TV on, and there's a TV report going on about this missing scientist, Christian Brunn. And she takes the rifle and she takes the keys for the boat. And the kids go out on this, boat ride. And I had no idea how gorgeous this part of the
So
world
good.
is. Oh my
So
gosh, breathtaking. But Jesse is describing the plot of The Thing, and Uki is telling the story about Kalapaluk, but Micah is telling her to stop with all that silly Inuk shit. So Micah just really doesn't like her culture. She doesn't like being reminded of anything having to do with, her culture or the town she's from or anything like that. Ayu has driven her bike out to where they are, and the girls are just sort of sitting around this fire that they've made, and they're talking about the town and how it's like, low rent or whatever, and everybody hates it except Uki likes it. And Micah is looking through the scope of her rifle, and she sees 3 figures in the distance, but nothing is really made of that. But then Laylee sees what looks like a polar bear coming toward them through her camera. And Ayu is between the bear and the girls. And Micah shoots the thing. Or no, the bear attacks Ayu, and then Micah shoots the thing.
And when it's walking, they did such a good job of making it just look like off, like the way it's moving, and like it just is so uncanny, is very creepy.
Yeah.
And which I feel like the special effects in this movie aren't like the best, but I feel like the plot in a way, and the way that the monsters work, it kind of works to its favor. Of it does look a little bit like a little bit lower budget, but it kind of adds to that uncanniness, which is what it's supposed to be doing,
Yeah.
So I feel like I liked that and later some of the makeup, like it just does such a good job of feeling just like too close to reality in a way that's wrong, like an imitation, obviously.
Yeah. So Micah shoots the thing and gets Ayu, and they head back to the boat. And we have a shot of the seemingly dead bear thing, and this tentacle comes out of the eye of the bear thing, and then the bear
Ugh.
thing makes this growl sound. But for some reason, like the movement of the jaw of the bear was just like, ah, just didn't
So
like it.
creepy.
So on the boat, the blood that Ayu has on her sweatshirt or shirt won't come off. And when they get back to shore, Ayu says, "My bike is still out there."
She's so cute.
The girls are talking to some boys, and Micah wants Ayu to go play somewhere else. This is her little sister, so she's just like, "Can you just like..."
Go away.
And Uki says that what they saw out there was and I'm going to mispronounce this, but phonetically I wrote Eruk, a monster that lives between 2 worlds. But there's a little argument here between Uki and Micah, and we've already seen that she doesn't like these kind of stories, and she doesn't like this part of her culture. And so she's like, well, if you know everything, Uki, why don't you just go out there and hunt it yourself? I dare you.
I really like the way that all of these characters are, because I feel like though these scenes are painful and obviously it's not great to watch Micah, say these horrible things to her friends, like she always shows such remorse later, and I feel like that is such a real thing. Like when you're a kid, you just say dumb shit, and like the only thing kids have is like social capital. Like that's the way the world works for a kid. And so the only way to gain more is to throw somebody else under the bus sometimes. And I feel like all of us have said or done things that we don't like afterwards. You just feel like, why did I do that? You know? And I like that they show that with this girl of like, she constantly is doing things she's not proud of, but she really is like is sad that she did them. And that's real to me.
Yeah, and I also like how her friends like call her on it too. Like there's a scene later, and I put in the notes that she reads Uki, but I don't know if that's the right use of the word. But it's vicious. I mean, it's really cruel. But we meet one of the police officers, Officer Lefebvre, and he comes and he hassles the kids, especially this boy Thomasy, who he says he was smoking. I didn't see anybody smoking. And then he also says that like he doesn't have a helmet for his Honda, like ATV or whatever that thing is. He just wants to like fuck these kids' day up. But then his superior, this other police officer, comes and she's like, leave the kids alone. Like, get the fuck out of here. And she speaks the Inuit language. And so she's like, well, Thomas, you really should get a helmet. I mean, that's for your own safety. And then she's like, Micah, I just saw your mom. She said she was about to cook dinner. It's probably done now. Like, you should probably go
Yeah.
back home. And the kids respect her, of course. So they like her. Now the thing has made it. Oh, we see it cuts to like a scene where there's like these tentacles crawling over this rock or something. But then we can assume that it's made its way across the water. And there's a fisherman who's just kind of doing his fisherman thing, but he gets pulled into the water. We see the home life of the girls. Lena's mom asks to see her phone. And when she looks at the texts, she realizes that the girls went off to the land, and she grounds her. And then, Micah texts that she's super sorry for getting Lena into trouble. And that was kind of
This scene
sweet.
was so sweet. Like it was so like she texts. We just see the little texts, and she's like, "Sorry, it sucks. Super sorry." And Lena's like, "It's okay." And so then she texts who's the other girl?
Jessie.
Jessie. Yeah. She texts her and she's like, "Do you think she's mad at me?" Again, I just feel like this is so real. Like, and Jessie's like, "No, it's okay. Don't worry about it." And I just thought I love these little moments between the friends.
Yeah, me too. So Uki goes back out to the land with her bike, and she sees Ayu's bike there. And then there's this amazing shot where she's standing on this rock and there are mountains on all sides all around her. So gorgeous. So Jessie goes over to Lena's house and basically just like springs her. Like she's grounded, but all the grown-ups are at this dance getting drunk. So, and then when the girls go to leave, Ayu says she wants to go. Oh, well, then they go over so Jessie goes and gets Lena, and then they go over to Micah's house, and Ayu wants to come. And Micah's like, she says no. And she says, if you give me guff about this, I'm going to tell mom what actually happened to your stretchy pants, and that you like pooped your pants when you were on so-and-so's trampoline and then you buried them. And so I was like, okay, like, fuck, like.
Micah is vicious.
That also to me is like such a sister or a sibling thing,
Yeah.
But yeah, Micah, so cruel.
I feel like there's so much good little world building too. Like when Lena is getting is like absconding, leaving. She has a little sister, and she's trying to like get the sister to not tell the parents that she's leaving, and she does this by being like, "You can, watch Netflix, and you can. I'll give you my phone case." Like that's like as I just feel like that tells you so much about what it's like for them, that like giving somebody a phone case would be like, okay, this is my bribe to you.
Mm-hmm. Uki has binoculars and she sees a weird moose thing, kind of like the weird polar bear thing from before. And then she gets closer and she sees this orb thing in the distance, and that it has these like tentacles kind of all over it. And there's a bear thing, and there's this moose thing, and there's some other creatures. And as she's watching, this fox thing attacks her, and it's like tentacles are like reaching out to her face, but she slashes its throat and she gets away, but she gets blood all over her in the process. The polar bear thing investigates the dead fox thing and roars. So the girls go over to Thomas's house, and it's kind of a weird party, eh? What did you think of this party?
This actually felt very accurate to
Oh, okay.
so many quote parties you get invited to, and just everybody sitting around looking bored.
And like looking at their phones.
Yeah, like that can be a lot of party, and like when you show up and you're just like, hey, like it's just awkward, you know. And I feel like maybe it was trying to show like they're not drinking, you know. Like I feel like another movie might have the kids all be crazy because they're drinking or engaging in something, but they're just like when you're like in middle school time and you're just like, well, I'll just play games or look at my phone.
But
like
also,
that's your party.
I think I didn't pick up on that at all. And all the parents are off getting drunk. And
they're crazy.
And they are crazy when they're drunk. Like there's lots of mention throughout the film. Like I think Lena at one point says, my dad's scary when he's drunk. And then a little later when they call Peters, they're like, well, we can't tell them they're aliens out there. We'll just tell them that there's some drunk guy out there. And he's hassling us.
World.
So if you see adults like routinely like getting drunk and getting scary, you wouldn't want to have anything to do with that.
Yeah.
Man, I did not even pick up on that. That's so awesome. So Thomasy is pretty nice, but Micah disparages the traditional knives and the Inuit art that's on the walls. And Thomasy is sort of asking after Micah's dad, and he says that his mom says that her dad is like the best hunter by far. And he's just like, do you think he'd ever take me out and teach me stuff? And then Uki breaks in, and she's just like, you guys, there's an alien. And it's crazy. It's an alien pretending not to be an alien. It's like pretending to be animals. And Mike is just like, get out of here with that bullshit, But then we cut to Lefebvre, and he's smoking a J. I know people don't say smoking a J, but I think it's funny to say that. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? And he gets got by the polar bear thing.
It's so funny because you kind of see like he's smoking and not really looking, and you kind of see the polar bear ambling up in like the foreground, and then he like it's just so fun. You're just waiting for him to get spooked by it, and he's like, oh shit. Like the actor does such a good job of like what you would do if you randomly saw a polar bear.
Yes.
And then like his arm reaches up and like we see this like thing go into his arm, like, ooh, so gross.
So we come back to the party, and like I said, Micah reads Uki. Uki's like going on about this alien thing that she's seen, and Micah's like, oh, shut up with your stories, and you're just trying to get attention because your dad left and your mom's always like out with other guys and your granny is drunk 24/7. And we are not to blame for any of that, not any of it. And the other girls are like, damn, Micah, like,
chill.
Like, wow. Like that was just so much. And then the Lefebvre creature breaks in and he's moving all weird. And the kids are scattering as they should. And a tentacle comes out of his hand at Yuki. At Uki, I'm sorry. And he's all contorted and he climbs up the stairs. It's like
Exorcist style.
Yep. Spider walk up the stairs, and Uki jumps out of the window and onto this boat below, and she hides inside. And the Lefebvre thing is halfway out the window, and Micah slices it on the leg.
I do love this. I love that even though they're fighting, because I got really scared that at some point they were just gonna leave her and like just like and I was so scared that somebody was gonna get left behind and killed, but they always go back and try to save her, like or save and help each other, which I thought was really sweet that like I don't know, and their hearts in her heart, Micah is a good person. It's just she's got some shit she needs to work through.
Oh, for sure. So Uki's inside this boat and she's holding the door shut with this rope. And there's a fake out scare where Micah is trying to get the door open, but of course she thinks it's the Lefebvre thing. So everyone gathers and Micah is now like, oh, okay, Uki, like, what were you saying about this alien? And she's like, oh, you're talking to me now? Okay. But I love this line. She's like, what were you saying about an alien pretending not to be an alien? And Uki says, like an Inuk trying not to be an Inuk.
Ooh, burn.
And Tamasi notices that the thing was like on to Uki. So they're like, what's that all about? And they assume it's because of the blood. Like Uki has the alien blood on her. And then they're like, oh no, Ayu. Ayu has blood on her too. So they have to go back to her house. There's like creepy shit in this movie. This part, whew, out loud. I was like, like alone in my house. But we have a small kid in danger, and this is pretty scary stuff. So she is at home. She looks in the fridge. There's nothing there she wants. So she's got this stash of Skittles like underneath a dresser and she pulls those out. But then the fisherman thing is there and it's all like, weird and uncanny and it comes after her. And she falls on her butt, and the tentacle thing comes out of its eye. Oh!
And it's such a great shot when she drops the bag of Skittles and they just go everywhere.
Yes. And then I think it's Micah. Somebody pulls her through the creature's legs, like from in between the creature's legs, and they're all going to go meet at this crate. So there's a chase scene. The thing is running after Micah, but it seems to run out of energy at some point, and to the point where she can just like kind of turn around and watch it. And it's like contorting all strangely, but it's running out of steam. And they get to the crate just as the Lefebvre thing almost gets Micah. I'm not saying that guy's name correctly. I don't care. You get it. So Micah looks through this crack in the door and she sees the two people things. And they're just kind of standing there with their heads cocked, and she's like, they're just waiting for us. It's just so weird. So they're like, well, we need help. Like, who can we call? And the little girl tries to call her parents, but they don't pick up. They never pick up when they're dancing. And then we see a shot at the dance hall, and it's Micah's name coming through on the phone, and nobody's monitoring that phone at all. So everybody's parents are getting drunk and having fun and not looking at their phones at all. So then Jesse is like, let's call Peters, this like police chief. So they call her and she comes out eventually and then she gets got. But it's very sweet because she, says she like goes up to the crate, and she's like, stay inside. Don't come out here. Don't come out here. And we just hear her getting attacked and killed outside. So the girls try to make a plan to save the town. And they're like, we need you, Lena. And she's like, no, I'm not. No way. I am not leaving this crate. And she goes, I'm scared because this is frickin' scary. And they're like, okay, you stay here and you look after the little kids. And all you have to do is like shut the door closed when we go out. So they lure one of the things to the door with a bloody shirt, and then they stab it in the face. And then we get the getting ready for battle montage. Who doesn't love a montage?
So cute. I love
So
it.
cute and so great. And after they get all their items, and there was like one time Uki like grabbed this like little sword, and Micah like gives her this like tall sword that's like taller than she is, kind of thing. And Jessie has a marker like in her back pocket, and she's like, "We have to do it." And she goes, "No one fucks with the girls from Pang." And so the next shot is this iconic shot of this trio of badasses with their faces painted walking through the town in slow motion. It's awesome. And they come upon Peter's truck and they find her hat. Then we have another fake out scare with the dog. But then the Lefebvre thing attacks Jessie. That was pretty scary. He like grabs her leg. She's on top of this structure and he like grabs her leg. And Uki uses the long knife and like we assume like cuts his head off.
Nice.
So Uki and Micah argue about who should be the bait. It's kind of a funny fight. And then Thomasy shows up with his Honda. And oh yeah, there was this whole thing because Jessie really likes Thomasy, but he clearly likes Micah. And Micah says that she really doesn't like Thomasy, but Jessie thinks she does.
And Micah does try to give Jessie opportunities to talk to Thomasy, but Jessie's too shy.
Yeah.
Like when she goes to the party, like she is like, "Well, I brought, these guys," and Jessie's just like, "Hey," like she's just too shy to talk to him.
But here, so Micah's like, "Jessie, you go with Thomasy, and Uki, you come with me." So they go off together, and he asks her if she thinks that Micah likes him. And she says yes. That's kind of sad. So Uki is just sort of sitting on this rock, just like waiting for something to happen. And she's like, "Oh, like, why is this taking so long?" And Micah is up on the structure with her rifle with the shot, and she says, or with the scope, and she says, "Hunting is patience." So that was a piece of wisdom from her dad. So Uki's like, "I'm just going to take this thing out." And she pulls out this head, the head that she chopped off. And the fisherman thing is stalking Uki. And I didn't get how this trap worked, but somehow they get this rope wrapped around the fisherman thing's leg, and Thomasy drives off. But then the creature just uses one of its tentacle things and like cuts the rope and gets free. And Uki's like, "Oh shit," Uki runs to this building and the thing follows, and it's basically like she's underneath like a house and she's got to crawl, and Micah and Jessie are on the outside of the house and there's a hole there and they're going to pull her through, but they can't pull her through, and this thing is chasing her, like crawling after her, and then it pulls, it like sends out a tentacle and gets her on the ankle, and Uki's like, it's got me. Oh my gosh, this is like so scary. But
yeah, and like Micah like is like putting the rifle like underneath, trying to get at it however she can.
Yeah, but then the thing grabs the rifle, so that's not going to work. And so Micah and Jessie, and then Micah and Jessie and Thomasy pull Uki out, but she is unconscious, and they're just like, "Wake up, please don't die." And Uki comes to, and she's like, "You've got to go kill this thing, Micah, and if you don't, I'll hate you forever."
So cute.
Yeah, she's like, and then it will have sucked my blood for nothing, and I'll have to recover until I can save the town myself. Love her.
She's my favorite.
So Jessie and Micah go to hunt the thing, and they track her to Micah's house. So then we get kind of, again, her sneaking in the house again. But Micah's father is there, and he picks up this bloody sweatshirt, and he's like, "What is this all about, Micah?" And the thing attacks the dad. And a bookshelf falls on Micah, and she goes unconscious, and she has this dream memory of her father with this cool ass knife, saying it was her great grandfather's knife. He was the greatest hunter, and someday the knife will be hers. So the thing has her father pinned down, and she's shouting to him, like, you have to fight it. You have to fight it. And Jess rescues Micah from the bookshelf, and Micah shoots a harpoon at the thing. And the father gets up and grabs the cool ass knife and hands it to Micah, and she slices the head off the thing. And that seems to do it. End of story. Pretty much.
Yeah, everything like deflates, like all the tentacles and whatnot.
The spaceship shoots a signal into the air. So back at the crate, all the little kids are at the crate, and I just love this little part. So Ayu is talking to this girl, Ala, and they found out that they're probably going to be in the same homeroom this year. And she says, how come you never talked to me at school? And the other girl says, I always thought you were too crazy. Why didn't you ever talk to me at school? I always thought you were too cool. And the little girl shakes her head like, no. Then she says, will you talk to me when we get back to school? And she's like, yeah. And then she goes, this is the best fun I've had all summer. Me too. Aww,
So
come on.
sweet.
But I love it. I love that because this could have turned into a Micah Uki thing, you know, but instead they've like worked it out at like age 5 or 7 or whatever they are. They're just like, let's just be friends.
Yeah.
So Micah's father opens the crate and everyone hugs and they see the spaceship depart and everyone cheers. Micah is with her father on the boat at sunset. He says they should head back, but she says no. She wants to keep going.
That's so sweet.
So 1 month later, Micah's dad is handing out flyers, but the place, his little restaurant, seems to be doing pretty good business. And that's because they're selling Mama Took country food, the same kind of country food that Micah said she hated. Then these reporters roll up and they want to ask Micah about fighting the aliens. And she says that she's only a hunter. But then Uki is like, you want to talk to somebody? Talk to me. I'm the hero of the town. I knew they were aliens and I got clawed by one. And so, you know, if you want the whole story, you have to pay me up front, but I'll tell you the whole story. And that's the end of the show. So good.
It's very sweet.
So due to the location being in close proximity to the North Pole during the summer, Slashback differs from the vast majority of horror films by being set mostly entirely during daylight, even during the evening.
I love that. I feel like if a movie can still be scary and it's super bright outside, you did a good job. And
in a 2022 interview with Film Threat, Nyla Inukshuk spoke about how she blended practical on-camera techniques with CGI. There was this amazing contortionist that I got to work with, Troy James, who can do the craziest things with his body. So that was really fun. And then we kind of matched those kinds of movements with CG creatures. Actually, we had this big polar bear suit made for Troy that could only work with him wearing it. He's like upside down and backwards walking. Wearing the suit was uncomfortable for sure. And running down a hill in that suit for over the course of a day was probably torture. And I thought that it looked really, really cool, but it also looked so weird. So we ended up just kind of matching it with CG and really using that as inspiration for the CG version of the bear.
It was very effective.
This is being hailed as Attack the Block meets The Thing. Yeah, it really reminded me of Attack the Block.
Yeah, just like banding together and stopping the forces of evil.
Yeah, just neighborhood kids, like, you know, coming together. What does Letterboxd have to say about it? Girl Energy gave it 5 stars. God damn, this was fucking badass and freaky. And I loved all the music. Oh, yeah, the music was great.
Yeah.
Some seriously gross body horror shit. Really wicked, beautiful setting. And Pennertung Nunavut, especially during solstice. Also, all young girl protagonists. Come on! Oh, God, I'm so glad my friend showed this to me. Michu Low gave it 5 stars. It's cool and funny and creepy and wonderful. Excellent mix of practical and special effects, lovingly made and a total joy to watch. Yendis gave it 5 stars. 10 out of 10, had a good time and discovered I have a tentacle kink.
Oh boy. Thanks for sharing, Candace.
But Brett Cook gave it a half star. None of the people in this movie should quit their day jobs.
Okay. I do think the acting wasn't like perfect, but I didn't mind. Like
You can be meaner than that.
I mean it's like these are kid actors. Like they're not it's the exception to the rule is finding a child actor who is
That's
good
true.
at what they do. It's the truth. Like most kids are not good at it, and I would have rather them found like I would rather the story feel authentic and but some of it did feel authentic. Like they weren't like horrible or anything. It's just like I mean this isn't like Oscar worthy performances, but I really don't feel like it takes away from the enjoyment of the film.
Yeah, I'm the same. I mean, the acting is bad. It's very bad, but I don't care. It doesn't bother me.
Yeah. I feel like they're doing their best, and I know that I don't know, I'm not trying to sound like patronizing or anything, but I feel like it's like I don't know, like honestly, you know who I thought was great? IU. I feel like that little
Yeah.
girl was kind of like a scene stealer.
Oh, for
Like
sure.
she was very captivating, and I thought Micah was pretty good. I thought Jesse was pretty good. Uki, I don't think that girl is like necessarily a great actress, but she was funny. And like I don't know, like I would say acting is not where the film gets its scores, you know, for me, but I feel like it it doesn't make the film unwatchable
Right.
or
Yeah,
anything.
I don't think so either. Sanjeev gave it 1 star. More like cashback.
Okay, that's funny.
Todd the cat gave it a half star. I didn't intend on watching this. I was just being nice. I need to stop being so nice.
Okay,
Todd,
Todd.
that's
What do you mean you were being nice? That does feel patronizing.
all right. What phobia is that? We've had this before. Archodophobia, fear of beers.
I mean, we should. That's a healthy fear.
For sure. Rating. Okay, let's rate this out of bicycles.
I would give it 4 bicycles.
Oh, really? I would give it 3.5 bicycles.
Okay, I will give it 3.5
I
bicycles.
mean, we don't have to agree, but
3.5 I
yeah.
think is fine.
What have we learned from this film?
Working together is always good, and a very real thing is if you want to talk to somebody, you should just talk to them. One of my very good friends, Max, who I actually hung out with yesterday, we had a whole class together. Well, we had several classes together in college, but the first class we ever had together, I remember seeing them and thinking, that person looks so cool, but they are definitely way too cool for me to be friends with. I'm not going to talk to them. And then it was only because they talked to me in another class we had that I became friends with them. And I told them, I was like, I never talked to you because I just thought you were really cool and I was just too shy. And they were like, that's why I never talked to you. And I just think like, what if we had never been friends? I would have missed out on this great friend that I have, all because I was too shy. So you never know. That person might think you're too cool to talk to.
Yeah, that's probably not the case for me, but I think it's great advice.
I think you're very cool.
Yeah, I also think let's not be petty bitches. Like some of that, it was very real. I think that's why it was so uncomfortable. But like, wow, let's just be kind to each other, hey? Like,
yeah.
wow.
Don't be
Don't be a bully. Would we watch it again?
Yeah, I would.
I've seen it twice now in 2 days, so maybe. Maybe I would,
Good.
but I'm good. I don't think I need to watch it again, but I might could if somebody wanted to.
Yeah, if somebody wanted to watch it, I would watch it with them.
Did you have a favorite scene or favorite death? Well, there aren't really deaths in this, except for that fox thing,
Um,
but
I really liked the scene with IU with the fisherman thing, you know,
yes.
like when they're in the same house, that was really scary. And I mean the whole chase scene with like Uki and the fisherman guy was pretty scary too. And when she's in the boat holding the door,
Yes.
that maybe is my favorite scene is when she's like just holding the door and looks so scared. I thought that was really good.
I really liked there's one part where Jesse and Micah are talking about Thomasy and they're like I don't know, something something um better than a Big Mac, uh, you know, paddywhack, give a dog, and she's like, give a girl a bone. Oh my god! Then Lena's like, you guys are gross, you know. And I always feel like there's somebody in your friend group who's like just a little, a little too like suggestive, jokey, like in middle school, and
Yeah.
I don't know.
Even now, I have some friends where sometimes it's like, whoa, except it's even more obscene now because they know too much now. Yeah, and you're just like, hold on there. Slow down.
Who wins the You Fool Award?
Um, I don't know.
I think Mike.
I don't think
I think
anybody.
Micah does. I think
What?
Micah does.
Yeah, she through her own like self-hatred and I guess like self-consciousness really for a period of time was keeping herself from something that we see truly makes her happy by the end.
Yeah, and I feel like also, I mean, it depends on who your parents are, but I mean, her dad seems pretty awesome. It's like be kind to
Yeah.
your parents. I mean, unless they're like complete monsters, then don't be kind to them. But this guy seems like a very sweet man,
Yeah.
So
It was like the vibe of like somebody who's embarrassed cuz their parent has a job that they don't think is
yeah.
like as glamorous or something that they want when, you know, like if your parent is sweet and cares about you, that's the most important
Yeah.
thing. And if we find out other people think her dad is cool
Yeah.
too, even the boy she likes. So there's kind of no reason to be so self-conscious.
But I mean, I don't know. I could really relate to her though. I mean, I think out of all of the characters, I was probably the most like her when I was younger, which
Hmm.
is a little embarrassing to admit.
I think a lot of people are though. Like it's a very common thing to be kind of, I don't know, like I think a lot of people go through periods of times where they're kind of
Yeah,
assholes.
and
And it's good to depict a character like
like I
that.
didn't want to go to University of Wisconsin because like I grew up in Madison, and it's like, ugh, and it's like it's actually a very good school, like, and I
Yeah.
got a really nice, good education there, and I don't know, just like certain things. I guess it's like familiarity breeds contempt or something, and yeah, and
Mhm.
also I just wanted people to think I was cool, and I think a lot of times I just like said stupid things like to try to seem cool, and don't do that, y'all. Just be
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah.
You didn't sound convincing there, but
Yeah.
yeah, do that.
Yourself.
Well, Mac, thanks for taking the time to have this conversation with me about these two films.
Of course, it was a pleasure.
And thank you, WoHos, for joining us for this episode and for all your support. It means the world of horror to us truly. Next time, we're going to be looking at vampire movies. Your international horror film fact of the day is 75% of the world's narwhals spend their time in Nunavut's waters.
How delightful is that?
Pretty damn delightful.
I'm jealous. I want to see a narwhal.
Well, Let's book our trip to Nunavut.
I'll
Oh,
go. It's
God damn,
beautiful.
was it beautiful.